This week on Adventist News Network, the latest on the church's status in Hungary.
A 3D Bible display in Iceland.
And livelihood support for Myanmar's Delta community.
These stories and more coming up.
This is Adventist News Network, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks for joining us this week.
First in the news, months of uncertainty have finally come to an end for some minority religions in Hungary. The country's parliament amended a law this week that had deregistered hundreds of churches, including the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The amendment expands the list of officially recognized churches in Hungary from 14 to 32. The Hungarian government says the law is part of its broader effort to shore up the country's economy. Officials say they don't want sham religions claiming the rights and privileges extended to churches. However, religious liberty advocates and some analysts are claiming that the move politicizes Hungary's religious landscape.
Adventist leaders in South Africa recently welcomed an ambassador from Botswana to its regional headquarters. High Commissioner Kenny Kapinga said he values the church's role in society. Adventist president for the church's Southern Africa Indian Ocean region, Paul Ratsara, thanked Kapinga for his support and shared a Bible text with the ambassador. He chose a passage from the book of James, reminding leaders that wisdom comes from God. The meeting was sponsored by the local church's Department of Public Affairs and Religious Liberty.
For Adventists in Iceland, the Bible isn't confined to the pages of a book. Bible stories are coming alive for people who visit a new three-dimensional exhibition in Reykjavik. Church leaders there say the displays illustrate Bible stories and values in a compelling way. The exhibition traces biblical history from creation to Jesus' resurrection. After touring the displays, visitors are invited to stay for presentations on practical, relevant subjects. One presentation featured a local police chief who spoke on crime prevention and the importance of God's law. Biblical messages by evangelist Janos Kovacs Biro wrapped up the event. Church leaders say the story-based experiential event connected with a modern, secular audience.
A recent earthquake in the Philippines triggered massive landslides and left dozens of residents trapped under their homes or stranded. The Adventist Development and Relief Agency, or ADRA, is distributing food to more than 700 affected families. The church's humanitarian agency is reporting that washed-out bridges and roads complicated the relief efforts in remote communities. Amid downed power lines, some volunteers delivered supplies by flashlight.
Adventist Community Services is launching a livelihood support program for residents of Myanmar's Irrawaddy Delta. The low-lying region is densely populated and vulnerable to natural disasters. Many residents are still recovering from Cyclone Nargis, which struck the region in 2008. The new Income Generation project equips dozens of these local farmers and vendors with tools to become financially stable and integrate into society. Participating families receive a small grant, livelihood training, and a radio. Organizers say the radio not only empowers families with ongoing education and information, it also serves as an early warning system in the event of future natural disasters.
Well, it turns out that the fountain of youth might actually be a molecule. At least that's what Dr. Grant Ross and his team at the research arm of Sydney Adventist Hospital are saying. They've discovered that a molecule called NAD significantly drops as the body ages. The molecule maintains energy production, cell repair, and stimulation of what researchers call the longevity gene. Dr. Ross's research marks the first time scientists have found a connection between dwindling NAD molecules and a decrease in longevity enzymes.
Available in 100 languages, Adventist World Radio podcasts are connecting more and more unreached people with the church's message of hope. Recently, AWR released new podcasts in the Wolof language, widely spoken in the West African country of Senegal. Now, you might not have a neighbor who speaks Wolof, but chances are you do know someone who speaks Spanish, Portuguese, or French. Earlier today, I sat down with Jim Ayer to find out how you can use AWR podcasts to share your faith. Thanks for speaking with us, Jim. Now, you said that podcasts are an ideal witnessing tool. How so?
Well, in an amazing way, we've got so big so fast that iTunes gave us our own landing page. We're in over 100 languages now, and there's almost every country of the world has internet access. It's incredible.
What are some of the topics that AWR podcasts cover?
It's packaged in a very wonderful way. It could be family life topics, topics on drinking and alcoholism, how to treat your family better, a lot of things that will hook the listener. And then the big topic, of course, the Bible, and maybe end-time events, a lot of current things specifically designed to draw people into a greater knowledge of Jesus Christ.
Wow, and if there is a viewer who is currently wanting to share this with a friend or a family member, how do they go about doing that?
Let's assume that you have someone that moves in next door from Vietnam. I know you don't speak the language, but how do you witness to that person? They still need to hear about Jesus Christ. Well, now you can log on to our website, www.awr.org, and go to that particular language, and then you can find a beautiful invitation that's made up in Asian art. You can read what it says, and it says something like this: for each language, I have found peace and happiness through program content like these. I hope you enjoy this program too. It blessed my family and me. Take it over, print it out, take it over, knock on the door, smile, and hand it to them. Easy witnessing. And we have that in over 100 languages.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jim. When we continue, how a search for a magic book brought one shaman to the Adventist Church.
Welcome back. Here's Steve Chavez with a preview of this week's edition of Adventist World.
This month's cover story in Adventist World comes to us from Wellesley Muir, who for many years with his wife Evelyn served as missionaries in South America. That's where he heard the fascinating story of Lino Chania, a local shaman who lived near Peru's Lake Titicaca. Chania's search for a book of magic led him to Fernando Stahl, pioneer Seventh-day Adventist missionary. Muir's cover story, The Witch Doctor and the Preacher, tells about what they found when the Muirs tracked Chania down 60 years after his encounter with Stahl. This month's news feature features Nam Young Han, a farmer and local elder in South Korea, who since 2003 has copied the Bible by hand an amazing 7 times. Read what this has done for his spiritual life. Did you know that on an average weekday, 1.7 million children, youth, and young adults study with 85,000 teachers in 7,800 Adventist schools, colleges, and universities around the world? Umberto Rossi, a former director of education for the General Conference, writes about the physical, mental, and spiritual benefits of a Seventh-day Adventist education. In their World Health column, Drs. Alan Handysides and Peter Landless address the claims that omega-3 fatty acids found in fish may lower the risk of heart attacks and strokes. They answer the question, should we eat more fish? These and other interesting features are found in this month's Adventist World. Read it online at www.adventistworld.org. Happy reading.
Now let's turn to Megan Bronner for this week's Adventist social media highlights.
This week in social media, Adventist Church's most popular Twitter link was an old public service announcement for Avondale Adventist College in Australia. The ad starred a young Russell Crowe playing an undecided college student. Here's a short clip.
So, what have you been up to since you matriculated?
Well, I've got a job in a factory in town, but I still haven't really decided what I want to do with my life yet.
Huh? Got any ideas?
No, I was kind of hoping you had some.
Well, let's see. What are you interested in?
Well, I don't know, something with a bit of challenge, you know?
To watch the rest of the video, visit facebook.com/Adventist News. We have more Twitter responses this week to our question about who inspires you spiritually. One Rebecca says her mother is her spiritual mentor. Be a Light says her husband originally influenced her by his example, and she's considering joining the Adventist Church. Miss Cynthia M. says she's inspired by people who are genuinely seeking truth and who recognize their need of a Savior. Jereb20 says his parents are still his principal source of spiritual mentorship, as well as his school teachers from when he was younger. And Pereira BRN credits his wife as his source of inspiration. This week, we'll be talking about religious liberty and separation of church and state. There's been a lot of discussion about religion mixing with government lately, and we want to hear what you think. Join the discussion on Twitter at Adventist News.
The story of a young Christian mother persecuted for her faith illustrates the philosophy behind religious freedom. John Gross explains.
Religious freedom is more than a text of law or a concept or a philosophy. It is the respect of human dignity, and it is the gift of God for all people everywhere. Having no religious freedom makes life difficult, sometimes miserable. No religious freedom means persecution. Millions of people are persecuted around the world just because they have another religion, and we cannot accept that because it is against human dignity. I received news about a young mother who became a Christian. She was beaten by her husband. She lost her job. She had to go to court, and the court expelled her from her house and from her family and from her children. Was she a criminal? No, she was a good mother. Was she a danger for the country? No, she was a good citizen. She just chose to live according to her conscience. I cannot accept that people are persecuted because they decide to choose their religion or to have no religion. I cannot accept that. This is why I defend religious freedom for all and everywhere.
Still ahead on Adventist News Network, how to make Bible memorization fun and meaningful for children.
And up next, this week's Tech Corner.
As I was reading through The Great Hope, this passage caught my eye. Thus the death of Christ was the climax of the proof that their belief had been correct. The reason this passage brings me hope is because I knew when I had first started out on my Christian walk, God had to save me. But it took a lot. It took His sacrifice and His death to show me that He was still alive today in my life. And because of His life, I'm here today talking to you about the Great Hope. And the reason it gives me so much hope, and that hope is placed solely in Jesus Christ. He is my everything, my Redeemer. He is my one great hope.
Welcome back. For this week's Tech Corner, John Beckett shares an easy way to make church services more interactive.
I've seen projectors used in many churches to show hymns, sermon notes, and occasionally share a video. Today we're going to look at live on-screen polling as another way to use your screen to involve a congregation or audience. There are a number of companies that offer live on-screen services, but we're going to focus on polleverywhere.com. It's a web-based service with optional presenter software. Since the audience or congregation uses their mobile phones to interact, you don't have to buy an expensive system with a bunch of remotes to pass out and collect. You'll need an internet access for the computer that projects onto the screen. To get started, head to polleverywhere.com and sign up for a free account. After logging in, it's time to create your first question. It can be either open-ended, meaning people can respond with whatever they want, or multiple choice. The poll you create has a button that's used to make it full screen for projection. During your presentation, just push the button to go full screen and tell everybody it's time to take out their phones to answer a question. They can respond with text message, with Twitter, or a mobile website. Responses are shown instantly on the screen. The graph automatically resizes itself for multiple choice questions. Some people may find that it's better to show the poll during announcement time as a way to get people thinking about the topic. Either way, I think live polling is an interesting way to make a presentation or church service more interactive. To learn more, visit polleverywhere.com.
Women's Ministries leaders want to see every Adventist woman engaged in outreach that fits her gifts and strengths. Raquel Araiz explains how a new evangelism manual is helping.
As we begin a new year, the need to equip, to train, and to mobilize our women to tell the world about Jesus has never been so great. That's why here in the Women's Ministries Department at the General Conference, we have developed a new resource for you under the area of outreach. Outreach is for everyone, Women's Ministries Evangelist Manual. This material includes 15 chapters, and each 60-minute chapter can be used as a training event to the women in the local church. Chapters include plant a seed evangelism, friendship evangelism, how to reclaim new members, how to disciple new members, and how to lead one person to Christ. This is a wonderful tool that can help our women to understand many types of evangelism. Outreach is for everyone, for every Christian, and that includes you, my sister.
Now let's turn to Linda Coe. This week, she shares a resource to make Bible memorization fun and meaningful for children.
Learning Bible verses is a vital part of a child's spiritual growth. Therefore, our Children's Ministry Department encourages children to do that precisely. And so around the world field, in different regions of the world, our leaders are organizing programs like Bible Blast, Bible competition to encourage children, and they're excited. In fact, in Indonesia, in one of our children's convention, a young girl of 12 could memorize 636 Bible verses, and it's exciting to know that because Bible verses help them in times of discouragement and provide comfort and also show them how to live the way God wants them. Like David in Psalms 119 verse 11 said, "Your word have I hid in my heart that I might not sin against you." So we hope that because of this need, we have published a book in 2011 called 100 Creative Ways to Learn Memory Verses by Karen Holford. And we've distributed this around the world field so that children can learn new ways, and the teachers and the leaders can make Bible learning fun, especially memorizing long passages and difficult ones. It doesn't have to be dry or boring. It's just fun and meaningful.
A new agreement with a national network in Namibia means the church's radio ministry can now reach the Himba people. Dowell Chow explains.
Bordered in the north by Angola, and coming to the east you have Botswana, Malawi, and South Africa. Namibia is probably known more for its desert, the Namib Desert, a huge desert place, basically deserted with people, no inhabitants, just animals. But in the north part of the country, there's lots of people living there. We have not done a whole lot for Namibia. There are many indigenous groups in Namibia, tribes, one of them being the Himbas. Himbas are a group of people living in the north, and they're mostly untouched by the gospel. We want to reach the Himba people. One in Namibia recently. I visited Namibia Broadcasting Corporation office, spoke with an officer. He offered us airtime on the national network to reach any of the groups of people they have in the country without any hesitation. He said, "You can come, we'll welcome you." So I want to pray for these people. I want you to pray for these people as we minister to the Himba-speaking people in Namibia. We have found a producer, and we're about to train that person. Thank you for your prayers and your support. God bless you.
When we come back, the news you reported this week, and later in the program, Sabbath School resources for new Adventists.
I don't remember any moments that my parents hugged me or held my hands, or I never heard that they say, Liana, I love you. I was struggling with a severe depression.
Welcome back. Here's Sergio Gonzalez with this week's iShare report.
Welcome to iShare, where you bring us the news. Today we have a story submitted from Portugal, submitted by reporter Felipe Reis. Felipe tells us about the recent Adventist Generation in Mission Convention. That's the Portuguese version of GYC. He said the meeting featured 300 participants and 600 attendants on Sabbath mornings. Participants distributed more than 800 flyers and 200 Bibles, resulting in about 50 people registering for Bible studies. The live stream of the convention drew an audience from all over the world. Do you have a story that you'd like to share with us on iShare? Go to news.adventist.org/iShare and upload your 60-second video news story or photos. Thanks for watching.
A Bible study guide published by the Church's Sabbath School and Personal Ministries Department is helping new Adventists adjust to church membership. Gary Swanson has more.
The Sabbath School and Personal Ministries Department is pleased to announce the beginning of a new Members Bible Study Guide that we have just released at the beginning of this year in 2012. Already it's being well received and well used in the field by people who are new to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and they come to Sabbath School for the first time, and they need a Sabbath School lesson of their own. This has been a need that has been called for quite a long time. It's going to contain 52 lessons, helping new members to become acquainted with what they should know about membership in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Its doctrines, its beliefs, its practices, its traditions, and heritage. When they go through these 52 lessons, they will be much more well prepared to take up their membership alongside the regular members in long standing, and to be able to be more invested, more actively involved, and to understand better what the church is about, where it has come from, and what its mission is for the future. And that's our hope, is that we can help them become more well acquainted with what the church means and does.
Now let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history. This week we learn about a group of lay people inspired by the U.S. Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. On February 25 in 2010, Virginia Rittenhouse died. She had been the co-founder with her husband of Faith for Today, the first officially backed Adventist television series. On February 26 in 1852, John Harvey Kellogg was born in Tyrone, Michigan. Kellogg is one of the most famous or infamous names in Adventism, a pioneer health reformer, one of the key Seventh-day Adventist leaders of the 1880s and 1890s, but his views on health, theology, and race became more and more extreme, and eventually, in 1907, he was disfellowshipped. 109 years after Kellogg's birth, also on February 26, but in 1961, in the city of Columbus, Ohio, a group of African-American professionals, led by Frank Hale Jr., founded the Laymen's Leadership Conference. Hale and others were inspired by the civil rights movement then taking place in the United States, and the Laymen's Leadership Group campaigned vigorously against racial discrimination in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, taking their case to the very highest levels, including confronting General Conference leaders at the 1962 GC session. Regarded as troublemakers at the time, history has vindicated them and their actions, and on Hale's death in 2011, he was celebrated for his contributions to the church. Those were some of the events of this week in Adventist history.
Thanks for watching Adventist News Network. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
And if you haven't already checked out our app, now you can watch ANN videos on your iPhone or Android device, as well as access all the latest news, commentaries, and photos.
And as always, you can visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next week, God bless.